What's up, everybody? Welcome into the Early Edge Live preview show edition. We're going to break down the Eagles-Bucs game. I am your host, Alan Bell, and I tell you what, we're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to break down every single best bet, spread, total, props, you name it, and we're going to hit it. Let's bring it to the start of the show. I don't want to waste any time. Now, everybody, usually our man Coach is sitting in the seat, but we've got to give a shout-out and props to him. His daughter made the all-star soccer team, and they have a game, I believe, right now, and that's why Coach couldn't make it. He'll be hosting the other two shows today that we have at 3:30 Eastern, breaking down 49ers and Cowboys. Also, 7:15 p.m. Eastern tonight, breaking down Steelers at Chiefs. But, of course, family comes first. We're all family here. So, boys, how we doing, man? Props, you doing good, buddy?
What's up, AB? I'm doing great. I'm excited. I've got my birds playing in 1 hour. So, yeah, I'm extra stoked. Larry, Mike, good to see you guys as well.
Well, I'll tell you this, Maestro, you look good in anything that you wear. I really like it when you have the suit on, when you got the HQ look going. How we doing, bro? You doing all right?
Well, we're doing great. Mikey and I agree on a prop that we just locked in, so I'm feeling good. Let's do it.
I like it. Maestro. M Squared, how we doing, buddy?
We're doing well. Yeah, Larry found the number that I was looking for, frankly. I was so close on the fence, and once I got that number, just locked it in. I like the play, so I can't wait to give it out here. Maybe now, maybe soon. I don't know.
You know what? I'll tell you what. Let's jump into it right now. We're not going to waste any time here. Let's jump into our best bets that we have for this game today. And I'll tell you what, Maestro, buddy, you found it. You're ups, man. What do you got?
Well, Mikey can talk about it too, but we got Gronk over 59.5 receiving yards. And I know there's going to be a lot of talk about without all of the weapons that they have, there's going to be extra attention. But are the Eagles really going to change the way that they defend in one playoff game just to account for Gronk? I'm hoping not. But even if they do, 10 targets each of the past 2 weeks, blowing by this number. Talk about the wind. 15 to 25 miles an hour. 15 to 20 is what I'm seeing, although somebody in the chat is saying less than 10 in the first half, and that's totally fine with me, and I'm sure it's fine with Alex for your Mike Evans prop, but that wind is not going to affect the targets to Gronk. This is, obviously we don't have to talk about the relationship between Brady and Gronk and when it counts most, who is he going to? So that's why I'm on Gronk, and this is a good number.
M Squared, I'll throw it to you, man. Obviously, you're on the same play. What do you see out of it?
Yeah, same play. I like it a lot. We know that the Eagles have struggled to defend this position. It's a lot about the chemistry that he has with Tom Brady. So if things aren't going well at all, that's where targets are going to start to get funneled too. So we have a little bit baked in here in terms of some protection. I think that the floor on Gronk is pretty high today in terms of his targets and receiving yardage. So I like this number. It's 59.5 over at FanDuel right now. That's the best line I've seen in the market. It's more of a lean once you get over 63, but in between those numbers, I do like it quite a bit. Look, he's crushed over the last few weeks, and the common theme over the last few weeks is they've just been down receivers. They've been down bodies. And when you get into these spots, you go to what's comfortable, and nothing is more comfortable for Tom Brady than finding Rob Gronkowski over the middle of the field. So that's what I like here in this spot. I tend to think this game is going to be more competitive than we think. I said that obviously yesterday too, was not correct on that, but I am expecting competitive games here, and Gronk is that option over the middle of the field. So at 59.5, I mean, what have we had? 115 and 137 yards in the last 2 games for Gronk. I think we can get there pretty easily here.
I like it. And, we're going to break down the entire game of the game script here in just a second. Props, my dude, you got 2 plays, one on either side. Break them down. What do you got?
Yeah, I do indeed, AB. I've got Mike Evans over 55.5 receiving yards. Listen, I was really encouraged last week watching Mike Evans versus the Panthers, especially with Mike Evans staying in the game long after he eclipsed 1,000 receiving yards. He became the first wide receiver in NFL history to start his career with 8 consecutive 1,000-yard seasons. So, yeah, he looked fully healthy. I was also encouraged by him practicing in full leading up to this game, coming into the game without an injury designation. rotation. So he is healthy. He is going to serve as the 1A wide receiver 1 in this offense today. The Eagles also give up a lot of production to opposing number 1 wide receivers, 10th most in the NFL. I do anticipate him getting shadowed by Darius Slay, but I do think Mike Evans is more than capable of getting off on Slay, as good as Slay is, especially if they leave him on an island. I just think Mike Evans is capable of going off against any corner in the NFL. So yeah, I love Mike Evans today. I think he's in line for double-digit targets. 55 is just too low. This should have opened at 60, in my opinion. I have him projected for 73 yards, which is a nice edge as well. So I really like Mike Evans. The other prop I have is Miles Sanders, over 42.5 rushing yards. He is coming into this game. I think he'll be wearing a cast, but apparently it's not going to affect him whatsoever. He even said he's totally capable of catching passes as well. Miles Sanders, the raw numbers may not jump off the page, but as far as the advanced stuff is concerned, he has been absolutely phenomenal. He ranks top 10 in elusive rating, breakaway percentage. He's been exceptional this year. I think he's 3rd in the NFL in yards per carry as well. Also, the Eagles' offensive line has been absolutely exceptional, elite, dominant. And then on the other side, this Bucs defense, they are not as dominant as a rush defense as they were last year, and kind of the reputation that they have. They rank 12th in rushing DVOA. A lot of other advanced stuff has them as like well above average, but not nearly the dominant unit that we saw. The Eagles, with their dominant offensive line, are capable of running on anyone. I agree with Mike. This game's going to be competitive, and the Eagles are going to be very balanced. Miles Sanders is going to get double-digit carries in that scenario, in my opinion. He's a great bet to go over 42.5 rushing yards.
I like it. Well done. Well done. Now, your partner in crime, Uncle Dave, he's on Tom Brady under 274.5 passing yards. And look, I'm on the Bucs first half minus 4.5. Really, this is a play, kind of based on what we saw out of week 6 when these two teams played. The Bucs were up 28-7 with like 2 minutes left in the third quarter, but it's more than just that game. It's really Philadelphia, and props feel free to jump in because, the Eagles being your squad. The Eagles are a good football team, but the Eagles score way many points in the second half of games than they do in the first. They kind of work through their issues in the first quarter, first half. And what we talked about yesterday before the games began in regards to the Buffalo Bills, that points are their best friend and that they were going to come out as aggressive as possible. I think Tampa's kind of looking at it in the same route. So I don't love the number 4.5, and we've heard M Squared preach on this show constantly about the difference between 4, 4.5, 5, etc. But I think that this is a good spot here to take the Bucs in the first half. Okay, so we'll get back into those. We might have some additions of best bets. I want to talk just where the spread, the total is right now. And M Squared, I'm going to come to you first. Okay, so pretty much all week we saw the Bucs 8.5-point favorites. Right? Today, right now, it sits at 7. All right, we'll break down the total in a second. All right, so just first off, your thoughts. Why have we seen the spread drop from 8.5 to 7? And has that made any big of a difference in your models, in your mind? What are your thoughts here?
It hasn't made a ton of difference for me. It's basically settled right where my simulation number has been most of the week. So I made Tampa Bay minus 7.2. My total, I made it 44.8. I don't know where the total is currently. Sorry, I wasn't paying sharp enough attention to hear where you said the total was, but 47. So I lean towards the under on the total. But I think the spread is dead on where it should be. As far as why it's moved, I think that people were waiting for the best opportunity, waiting late to grab the underdog, and then we were kind of seeing that a little bit on game day. And then also just the injury concern and the guy missing on the side of the Eagles. Weather concerns just a little bit. I think that it's settling into where the number should be, frankly. I could see 7.5 essentially being that number that's there. So if you like the Eagles and already got the number in, you're probably feeling pretty good seeing this one move to 7. But as far as is there a ton of value left at this point, I think the number is pretty accurate where it should be.
Maestro, your thoughts? Same thing. Spread movement that we've seen, total. Just what are your thoughts when you see these two numbers?
Well, yeah, I'm feeling a little foolish in that I locked in the Bucs much earlier, thinking the line would go higher. But I'm encouraged by the weather not being as drastic as everyone was making it out to be. And I'm also encouraged that the Eagles will be missing their best pass rusher in Sweat, and their starting right guard is also out. Although that's not a shock since he didn't practice on Friday. So those are two key starters. So, at 7, I definitely like the Bucs. But I unfortunately locked it in a lot earlier.
All right, now you brought up Josh Sweat, all right, Eagles defensive end, and props, I'm going to come to you here. He's their best pass rusher, right? And we saw the report about an hour ago that he had a life-threatening, health situation, I believe some sort of surgery earlier this week, and he fought back trying to get in this game, obviously couldn't. The most important thing is that he's okay, that he's healthy, right? So glad to hear that, obviously. But he's not going to be in this game, and he is their best pass rusher. How does that news affect this game in your thoughts on either side?
Yeah, I think it has a tremendous impact on the game. The Eagles don't have a lot of depth to begin with, even with a healthy Josh Sweat, so he will be sorely missed. Brandon Graham, obviously, out for the season. So, yeah, this is an area where the Eagles, I think they ranked in the bottom 5 in sacks with a healthy Josh Sweat. As you mentioned, they gave him a big extension earlier in the season. He was, or it has been, their best outside edge rusher. So, yeah, it's going to come down to if they can get interior pressure on Tom Brady. That's been the strength of the Eagles defense outside of their secondary, is like guys like Javon Hargrave, Fletcher Cox, if they can collapse the pocket and kind of force Brady to move around. If Brady has time, he's just going to pick apart this defense all day. The weather looking favorable. It's not looking good for the Eagles, in my opinion, especially without Josh Sweat on the field. So, yeah, give Brady time. He's just going to be surgical. Find Gronk and Mike Evans and other guys as well, Brashard Perriman, etc., all day. So, yeah, this is a big miss for the Eagles.
All right, we're going to jump into some questions here in the chat. And everybody, if you could, please hit like. It helps us out so just incredibly much. If you could, just pull that comment section down, hit like, jump right back in. Also, drop any question that you have in the chat. I promise you, we will get to it, whether it's a spread, whether it's a total, whether it's a prop, alternate lines, you name it. These guys can handle all of it. So, Props, I'm going to come to you first, buddy. All right. Victor Hugo in the chats asked, Miles Sanders over 9.5 carries.
Yeah, I'd lean over on this. I saw this number 2. I think it's at plus money as well, which I think is a really good value. So, yeah, I'd absolutely lean over on it. I do think Sanders, he's proven he's very explosive. He's more than capable of busting off a 30, 40-yard run, which is why I prefer the yards in this scenario, because he's just more than capable of getting a big gain on one carry. So I think the yards, if you're getting it under 45, is a better value than the rushing attempts. But yeah, I would lean over on the rushing attempts. I just think under 45 yards for Miles Sanders is a great value, because he's going to very likely get double-digit carries. And with the Eagles offensive line, their commitment to running the football, and like I've mentioned previously, this Bucs defense is still very good, but they are not the same dominant rush defense that we're used to, or the narrative suggests that they are this season. All the advanced metrics state that. So yeah, I do expect the Eagles to have success on the ground versus them.
Nice. Okay, we got a question in here multiple times in the chat. Our man Siobhan, also UT Ren, asked, and M Squared, I'm going to ask you this. Any teasers that you like today, looking at the numbers as of right now? And also, UT Ren asked, any tease partner you like with the Bucs here? So just your thoughts on teasers today and the 3 that we have.
Yeah, I've got a teaser in today. Unfortunately, the line has moved just slightly on one of them, but I have the Niners at 9, and I also have again at 9.5 when they move, but at 9, and then I have the Cardinals at 10. So I like both of those. Those are where I would be teasing. If you want to tease the Bucs, I think that's fine. They should win the game. You're getting a friendly number down at -1 now at this point. Yeah, that's where I would be on it. But right now, it's I like the Cardinals at plus 9.5. I guess is the number now. I played them at 10. I'm sure we'll talk about it on some of the later shows later. But basically, the Bucs and then the Dogs. I would tease up on the Steelers side, and then I would tease up on the Dogs.
There we go. Now, Maestro, I'm going to come to you, all right? And we had a question in the chat. Will Weiskopf asked it, and I was literally just looking at it because it intrigues me as well, okay? All right, so he asked it to Mike, but Maestro, I'm throwing it to you. We've got both quarterbacks in terms of their props, okay, of passing touchdowns. Jalen Hurts over 1.5 at plus 185. Tom Brady over 2.5 at plus 165. Are either of those attractive for the over, under? What do you think?
Yeah, maybe I would take a lean on Brady. I'm not going to play either one. I should mention that yesterday we saw first-time playoff quarterbacks against quarterbacks who have been in the playoffs before. And I don't know if we've ever had a dichotomy like we have in this game in terms of playoff experience versus none. Those first-time playoff QBs fell to 14, 33, and 33 against the spread with that Patriots-Bills game. So, I think Jalen Hurts could have a very good rushing game. I think, I would lean over on his rushing yards, especially because the Bucs give up a lot of explosive runs. Down to down, they're pretty good, but they do give up those big gash plays. So, but I'm not going to touch his passing touchdowns.
My guy, I like it. All right. And guys, prop Mike, Maestro, feel free, hop in, on any question. We'll start with somebody, but feel free to jump in. You guys know how it gets down. All right. Props, I'm going to come back to you. Thoughts on Mike Evans, 4.5 receptions. I believe it sits at even money here from Dominic D. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I like this quite a bit as well. I have him projected for 6 receptions. I do think that the volume is going to absolutely be there, especially we mentioned no Josh Sweat. Giving Tom Brady just extra time in the pocket is just a recipe for him connecting down the field. So, yeah, I think Mike Evans is going to receive double-digit targets. The volume is absolutely going to be there. Looked phenomenal last week, practiced in full. He's healthy. If the Eagles leave Darius Slay on an island with him, Mike Evans will get off on him. So, yeah, I think Mike Evans is in store for a very big day.
All right, Mikey, I'm going to come to you real quick, right? So you spoke about how this game, you think it could be more competitive, right, than maybe the market thinks, right? Just your in general thoughts in regards to that, in regards to anybody who might be looking to sprinkle a little bit on the Eagles money line, and just game script, right? Like, just what are your thoughts? Why do you think it's going to be more competitive? Does that help the under? Does that help the over? Just your thoughts in general here.
Yeah, I think it helps the under just a little bit. So what I mean when I say that is Tom obviously doesn't have all the weapons that he would like to have out there. And sometimes they can start slow. We've seen that at times. You start slow here, and the Eagles, we've also seen them have a good first drive in several games. They go out and put points on the board, and things change mentally in the game. Things change the way they call the game. We know this Eagles team, like obviously it's very difficult to run against Tampa Bay, but if they do figure it out, the Eagles have a ground attack that they have figured out. And if they're able to have even marginal success, they can shorten the game, which I think is what they're going to want to do before they fall behind. So, yeah, I just think it could be a much more competitive game. And then on the other side, I mean, Dallas Goedert is capable. Devontae Smith is still capable of busting a big play at any moment. Jalen Hurts is capable with his legs if things break down. I think that this Eagles team is still just a little bit underrated. Obviously, we give a lot of credit to Tom Brady. He's the GOAT for a reason. He gets all the credit. And he deserves all of it. It's just one of those spots where they don't have all the weapons that they normally would. And, I hate to keep bringing up Antonio Brown's name, but they'd be a lot better if they had Antonio Brown even out there. But they really don't. They've got Mike Evans, who, by the way, I like Alex's prop. I think he still gets there through sheer volume, but they've got him out there on the island, essentially on one of the better corners in the league. And then you've got Gronk over the middle. But other than that, he's got some wide receivers that really doesn't have a ton of chemistry and timing with. I just think that there could be a slow start there, and we see a more competitive game because of it.
Yeah, it makes sense, man. I appreciate that breakdown. Yeah, props, go ahead, man.
I also think the Eagles can run on anyone. They've proven that this year, especially the first time these two teams met was a real turning point in the Eagles season. They didn't really have an identity offensively. They were not running the ball whatsoever in the first 6 weeks of the season. These two teams met. Tampa Bay just rolled the Eagles, and the narrative in Philadelphia up to that point was like, why are they not running the ball? They have the personnel to. They have the talent on the offensive line to. And then there was just this drastic shift in offensive philosophy, and the Eagles went to a primarily rushing team and ended up leading the NFL in rushing attempts and rushing yardage. And that came after week 6. They were barely rushing the ball leading up to that point, and they've proven they can run on anyone. They ran for over 200 yards versus New Orleans, who are an absolutely elite rush defense, every bit, in my opinion, as good as Tampa Bay. So the Eagles can roll on Tampa Bay, in my opinion. They're going to have to be very balanced. They're going to have to commit to the run, though. And if they get success, they're kind of hard to stop. They're like they start steamrolling. So, yeah, watch out. If they start running early on Tampa Bay, it is going to be a long day for Tampa's defense.
Maestro, what do you got, buddy?
Spoken like a true Eagles fan. And I want to just second that, even though I'm on the Bucs, the Eagles' 6th most explosive runs this season. Those are runs 10+ yards. And since the midway point of the season, the Bucs have been giving up the most of those explosive runs, even though their overall rushing defense still looks good.
Yeah, go back and look at the Bucs' last few games, right? Like the Jets had their way with them. Like the Panthers had their way with them. I know that the end of the game, it looked like a blowout in Tampa's favor. That game was way closer than the final score showed. Like Tampa's defense has not looked great. We got some questions in the chat in regards to interceptions on either quarterback. Look, man, this is tough. There's a reason why I haven't locked any of them in. You look at Jalen Hurts, like you would think, and generally, if you're going to get one from him, it's usually in the first half. But he hasn't thrown a pick in his last 2 games, and I think he only has 1 in last 4, somewhere around there. I almost kind of think Brady is the better option here to throw an interception just because of what we talked about in regards to the personnel that he's throwing to. But I don't feel great with either of them. So there's a reason why I haven't put him out there. It can be hit or miss. I think you're going to have better options in the other 2 games today. It's going to be kind of tough. Now, props, Maestro, Mike, anybody feel free to jump on this one, but props, I'm going to put you up first. Our favorite bet every week when the Bucs are playing. Tom Brady, over under 1.5 rushing yards.
I talked about this at length. If he does bust a 4 to 8 yard rush, and then you're worried about the end of the game.
Bust a 4 to 8 yard rush.
yeah, you're worried about the end of the game, him kneeling 3 times and losing 3 or 4 yards on those kneels. To me, it's just such a fragile number that I just can't get behind. I don't know. Do you have an opinion on that, Mike?
Yeah, it's not what I'm playing because the most likely scenario here is -4 rushing yards at the end of the game. So you need 10 yards. And while it's certainly possible, especially with a guy like Giovanard back and active and healthy, like he's just going to dump the ball off or throw it away if he's in trouble. I don't anticipate him running, looking to take a hit. So not something that I would play personally.
All right, Maestro, coming to you, buddy. Gavin Morgan in the chat asks, what about Scotty Miller over 9.5 receiving yards, -120 on DraftKings?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the opportunity is there, but I don't have a strong opinion. I would turn it over to Alex, though.
Yeah, he's buried on the depth chart is the problem. Like even with all the injuries in Tampa Bay, he's not getting the amount of routes run that you look for. You look at a lot of games, he's just been completely targetless. So yeah, it's just very high variance in my opinion as far as Scotty Miller is concerned. I know it's appealing because obviously he's more than capable of getting that on one catch, but you may be looking at 15 routes run over the course of the game when he's the 4th or 5th option. So
yeah, it's kind of like playing that Deshaun Jackson, right? Like you're going to have maybe 2 to 3 shots at this thing. I'm with you on that. All right, props. Let me stay with you real quick. All right. Jalen Hurts over 39.5 rushing yards.
Yeah, I'd absolutely lean over on that. I actually thought it was quite a bit higher. So yeah, I think that if you have 40 yards, I think that's a great
last
number.
I saw was like 51 or something.
Yeah, I thought it was 57 actually.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sorry, I was reading in the chat here. All right. Well, okay. Well, then let's get that question out of here, get it out of our minds. All right. Let's go to the actual number. All right. What'd you say? 57?
That's what I had seen prior to us coming on.
What are your thoughts there?
It's high. I was interested. I was looking at all the props in this game and you can literally just see like from Dallas Goedert to Mike Evans to Gronk, every single person was just like taking up a couple yards like in the half an hour prior to coming on the show. So yeah, I do think this number is fairly efficient. Everything is kind of inflated to the over. So I'd lean over on it, but it is a very high number. This is as high as you'll see his rushing prop all year. So stay away in my opinion, but I would lean over.
All right. Now, M Squared coming to you first. Jason in the chat says, always love Mike's answers as an eloquent way of saying, hell no, man. There's so much better bets out there. But, dude, spot on. Jason, my man, spot on. Well done there. Now, coming to you, Thomas Marshall asks, how about Dallas Goedert over 53.5 receiving yards here?
I lean into it. The numbers are starting to, like Alex said, everything is trickling up, getting shaded towards the overs here. But I would lean that way. I think that he's going to have to be involved. I know we talked about the running game. We talked about all of those things. What we're looking for really is maybe Hurts rolling out, hitting Ertz. I'm used to saying Ertz, hitting Goddard in these spots. Vintage Ertz, new Ertz here with Mr. Goddard. But that's what we're looking for. And I do think he has the ability to break a few 15 to 20 yarders in this game that gets him there. So it's one that I'm certainly not taking the under on, but I lean towards the over, but I can't quite get there on my simulation number at the current number.
Gotcha. All right, Maestro, coming to you. Will Weiskopf asks, what about Cameron Brate over 18 receiving yards, minus 114? And props, feel free to jump in afterward.
Well, I love Cameron Brate today, but I like him more to score a touchdown. Do you know that he's actually, in terms of the active roster, he has the most red zone targets because Godwin was number 1 and Brate is number 2. We know how the Eagles' second most targets allowed to tight ends. Sneak preview, he is my first touchdown score, and I believe the jeweler is also on that. It was at 24, 25 to 1. It's down to 18 to 1 for Cameron Brate first TD.
I agree with Larry. I do think he is a tremendous bet for the VJM, and yeah, he does get a ton of red zone looks. Brady's very comfortable with Cameron Brate as well. If we look at last season, actually, the Bucs obviously won the Super Bowl, their postseason run. Brate had like a series of really good games where he was heavily involved, and that was with the Bucs having a much healthier group of wide receivers and tight ends. So yeah, I do like Brate. I think the number is fairly efficient where it is. I definitely lean over on it though. And yeah, I do expect Brate to be on the field running a good amount of routes, and Brady's very comfortable with him outside of Gronk and Mike Evans. He would definitely be the next guy that Brady I think feels comfortable with and has chemistry.
Props, I'll stay with you real quick. All right, we got a question in the chat here. Excuse me, from John Taylor. Asked in regards to Devontae Smith, over under 45.5 receiving yards. I believe that number actually sits, well, at least at Caesars, it's 47.5. Now, I'm not saying that John's incorrect. That could be at a different book. So just your thoughts on Devontae Smith around that area, 45.5, 47.5, somewhere in that arena.
Yeah, it's tough. I want to say yes, and he's more than capable of getting this on one catch. Devontae Smith is phenomenal. The volume, though, has his floor is inconsistent, which is kind of what deters me from this play. I do think that Dallas Goedert has a higher floor than Devontae Smith, which is reflected in his yardage total being a little bit higher than Smith. So yeah, well, I do think Devontae Smith is exceptional, more than capable of going over this number. I am worried if the targets will be there. The Eagles run so much, and yeah, just such a low volume passing attack that I just worry about the targets being there. But I would absolutely lean over. To me, it's an over or nothing. So yeah, I'd lean over, but just unfortunately, just the targets aren't there for me to fully endorse it as a play.
Yeah, totally understood. Everybody, welcome in. We've reached the top of the half hour here. It is 12:30 p.m. Eastern. I want to welcome everybody to the Early Edge Live Show edition, breaking down the Eagles at the Bucs. We are going to do this at 3:30 p.m. Eastern today for the 49ers and the Cowboys, and also tonight at 7:15 p.m. Eastern, breaking down the Steelers at the Chiefs. Jeweler, if you could do me a favor, let's pull up our best bets for anybody brand new into the show. Want to take a look at these. And guys, quickly, you don't have to go through full breakdowns here. Just, a thought or two in regards to the best bets that you have. And Maestro, I'll start with you on Gronk. What you got?
Yeah, we're Mike and I going over 59.5 on Gronk. We got it on FanDuel. It's up to 61.5 there. I'd still play it. I wouldn't go above 62.5. I mean, Mike is better determining where is his cutoff. Obviously, the more it goes up, the less you like it, but still just think he's going to be featured heavily over the middle. That's one of the Eagles' weaknesses. Obviously, Brady doesn't have a lot of his targets. More Gronk.
Mikey, your thoughts there?
Yeah, so played it at 59.5 minus 110. next best place to grab it is still the 61.5 on FanDuel if you can get there still. I would stop at 63, 64. Certainly becomes a lean more than a play at that point. But yeah, like Larry said, not a lot of options out there for Mr. Tom Brady, but I love the chemistry that they had. Look at the last few games, well over 100 yards, multiple catches in both. I know one of them was a little inflated just because of trying to reach incentive bonuses. However, it's still a very comfortable target for Tom Brady, and this is a really, really strong matchup for him over the middle of the field.
Prop stars, my dude. Breakdown. You got two of them.
Yep, I've got Mike Evans over 55.5 receiving yards. Look, I was just very encouraged by Mike Evans last week. Came into it with a hamstring injury. I thought he would play limited snaps, but he ended up playing almost a full complement of snaps. Looked phenomenal. The lack of options for Tom Brady, Gronk and Evans are pretty much the only two guys he has a lot of real comfort and chemistry with. So I do anticipate double-digit targets. This is a low number for Mike Evans, more than capable of getting this on one catch, frankly. He practiced in full, which was also very encouraging as far as his health is concerned. So I like Mike Evans. I also got Miles Sanders over 42.5 rushing yards. He had some injury concerns as well, had a surgery on his hand. Apparently he's looked really good. Not going to affect him. Miles Sanders has been very good this season as well. The raw numbers made a touch up off the page, but as far as the metrics are concerned, he ranks in the top 10 in breakaway percentage, elusive rating, and the Eagles have a dominant rushing offensive line. So I think Miles Sanders is going to get double-digit carries in this game, and he's a great bet to go over 42.5 rushing yards.
All right, really quickly, we had a question in the chat. Jason Kane says, what will you take these numbers up to, fellas? So I know that it's a difficult question in regards to that, but Maestro M Squared, your thoughts on how high you would take Gronk, and then Prop Stars, for your two, how high would you take those as well?
For me, 62.5.
Yeah, I mean, 63, 64, it just depends. If you're going to play something like 63, 64, see if you can find alternates, and I'd rather try and find like a 68 at plus 120, plus 130, something like that. What I would not like to see you do is take the 59.5 minus 110 that we have and then go play, say, 63.5 at minus 130. Those are just drastically different plays and not something that I would recommend doing.
Props, your thoughts, buddy. Hey, nice coffee mug, by the way. I like that.
Right? Yeah. Supporting the brand. But I'd play Miles Sanders up to 44.5 rushing yards. I'm pretty sure that number is still readily available. At least I was prior to jumping on here. And then Mike Evans, I would play. He's crept up to, I think, 57 or 58 right now. I'd probably play him up to 59.5.
Yeah, Maestro, go ahead. But
yeah, no, I just wanted to, if I could, I don't want to take over the anchor chair or how you're conducting things, but I saw a couple of questions that I wanted to jump in
Maestro, you do whatever you want, buddy. All right, now let me say this before you go really quickly. All right, and again, you run it, do your thing. We need to get to 450 likes to get the donkey parlay from M Squared. All right, 450. I don't know what number we're at, Jeweler. You can help us with that, but 450, take a look, hit the like, drop it. Maestro, hey. The floor and the chair is all yours.
Then I just want to really get Alex's opinion on Gio and his catches and his receiving yards. And why I say that is the Eagles give up the third most targets to the running backs. And if you remember, Fournette had 6 catches on 6 targets in that first game. So where are those catches? Where are those running back targets going today? And what do you think of the Gio props?
Yeah, I've been actually waiting for Geo props there. They haven't been released unless you're seeing them now.
Somebody in the chat had 13.5 receiving yards.
Yeah, I would lean over on that for sure. If that sounds like his reception prop would then be at 1.5, would also lean over on that. Absolutely. I do anticipate Geo being heavily involved on passing downs.
It's actually 17.5.
Yeah, excuse me. Yeah, I'm seeing 17.5 on MGM as well.
That makes more sense. Yeah, that makes more sense. So I would then envision that his receptions line is probably 2.5.
2.5, but plus 110 to go over.
Yeah, so I'd lean over on both. I think that he will be involved quite a bit. We've seen Brady has a real proclivity for throwing to his backs. Leonard Fournette, who isn't, traditionally known as a pass catching back. I think was third or second amongst all running backs in targets this season. So yeah, I do think Gio's going to be on the field on obvious passing downs, hurry up offense, 2-minute drill. So yeah, I like both these numbers, lean over on them both. I prefer the yards, I think, slightly, but yeah, I do think he's going to get 3 receptions, and I do think that 18 yards is well within the range of outcomes.
I like it. All right, now, while we're waiting, we only need 45 more likes. Hit that like button right now, and we're going to get the donkey from M Squared. While we're doing that, all right, and understand, this is just a quick thought, first thing in your head. We're not holding anybody accountable in regards to this, but I do want to have some fun in regards to people that bet totals, people that bet team totals. All right, we're going to go Maestro, props, and then M Squared. Give me a final score in this game.
Woo. I'm going to say 27-17 Bucks.
Props?
I will go 28-21 Bucks.
M Squared?
Well, I had 27-17 pulled up is what I thought it would end, but I'll say 27-20, but 27-17 is where I think it'll be personally. So.
Mike is saying what the spread in total is. 27-20.
Yeah.
That is the projection from the books right now.
Mikey's spot on. I'm going to go 30-24 Bucks. And I think I'm with Mike, man. I think this could get a little interesting here at the end. All right, Jeweler, where are we at? Did we hit 450?
We are currently 10 likes short.
10 likes short.
I think I got a contest. I think if we hit 600 likes, AB, you have to try to spell proclivity live on air.
Oh, good Lord. We'll absolutely do that. And I promise you, we will be off by multiple letters. Multiple.
Let's make him spell donkey first.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. All right, I'll tell you what.
Just hit it. We just hit it.
We did? All right, there we go. All right, so let you put that up on the screen, Jeweler, M Squared. Go ahead and break it down. Now, are we still calling it? Well, I guess we're not calling it the burrow like we did yesterday for Joseph. We're just going to go back to the donkey here. Break it down, buddy. What do you got?
Back to the donkey today. All right, we got 5 picks on this one. Here we go. Bucks on the alternate spread. This is a money line for them. Eagles plus 14.5, under 57.5 in the game. And then Rob Gronkowski over 44.5 receiving yards. Mike Evans over 39.5 receiving yards. Put those together, plus 425.
Nice. And for anybody that is dude, that thing gets me every time. Like, I love that you don't know when it's going to come. It could be in the beginning. It could be in the end. I love the way that Jeweler does it. For anybody new, what we do, Mike, break down, if nobody's ever heard of the donkey before, just a quick synopsis. What is it?
The donkey is just a fun parlay. Typically not bet to make. However, sportsbooks now let you make really highly correlated parlays like this, called a same game parlay, one game parlay, just different verbiage from different sportsbooks, but putting together plays that are highly correlated and trying to land on more specific outcomes in the game for a little better payout here.
I like it. All right. Now, Jason in the chat says odds of AB starting with the right letter even on spelling. That's good. No, you know me well. Well done. Also, Dan Hurdy says spell janitor. Yeah, you know what? That's also a difficult one, even though it is on the wall here at the bottom of the complex. Now, all right, what we're going to do next is our Van Jefferson Memorial. All right, it's so much fun. What we do is we try to choose, all right, the first touchdown score of the game. The rules of this game, though, are that they have to be plus 1,000 or more, and everybody's involved in this here. So drop yours in the chat, who you're rolling with. But I tell you what, and you know what? Coach isn't here, okay? So we're going to have some fun. Props. You are going to choose coaches as well because of all the comments that he likes to say. You're going to choose his for today. So have that screen pulled up. Yeah, I'll tell you what. And you know what? You go first. Let it rip. What do you got on your Van Jefferson Memorial?
So I do appreciate that Coach chose mine to get me access into the club, even though I don't feel great about it. So I do want to return the favor to Coach. So I will go Dallas Goedert. I believe it's at plus 1,600 for Coach. I mentioned that Hurts and him have a lot of chemistry. He's a very big tight end, runs a lot of routes deep down the field. So, yeah, I think Dallas Goedert has a great shot of scoring. I am going to go with the man himself, Jalen Hurts. This guy is one of the more dynamic rushing quarterbacks in the NFL besides Lamar Jackson. Has multiple games with double-digit rushing touchdowns this season. We see his rush total at 60 yards, which not many players have their totals that high. So, yeah, I think Jalen Hurts is a great bet to find the end zone. So I will go with him.
I love it. All right, M squared. You're in the club, buddy. What do you got?
Yep, I went the same direction. I have Dallas Goedert, plus 1,400, plus 1,600, depending on the book you're using. Look, I just think that there's obvious situations when you get to this point. You find value on the underdog when there's a spread of 7 or more, typically. It's just where the numbers are going to be shaded. So because we're going to the underdog, we're going with Dallas Goedert. I think he's going to be the guy that's going to be open in the end zone if Hurts doesn't run one in himself.
Maestro, now you've been in the club for a while. You've been running this thing, buddy. What do you got here?
Okay, I love Cameron Brate. Down to 1,800, was 25-1. Eagles give up second most targets to tight end, and in the red zone, the fourth most targets. This guy has 20 red zone targets. That is it leads the active roster because Godwin is out. He scored twice in the last 3 weeks, 3 times in the last 6 weeks. Without the running backs, without Fournette to pound it in down there, maybe we get a little play action to Brate. Let's do it. And I know the jeweler likes it too.
There you go. Hey, you know what? You can always love on that. All right, jeweler, hop in here, buddy. You got Brate as well. Break it down.
I got Brate as well. I mean, like Larry said, just an absolute red zone target machine. I think he's hauled in 3 of his last 6 games. He's gotten a touchdown, so we're going to roll with that. I'll say whenever Larry did get in the club, I don't always tail everybody, admittedly, but I did tail Larry whenever he had Nyheim Hines. He got in there, so I was a winner then. I'm happy to be riding with the Maestro on this one.
It's always good to ride with a Maestro. That's not a bad place to be at all. I'm going to go Scotty Miller. Look, this might be one of his 1 to 2 receptions that our guy has today, but I think it's going to come in the red zone, get him at plus 3,000. And to kind of put it in perspective, the Bucs defense is around 3,300, right? So understand, I wouldn't be putting full units on this one, but I like Miller in the spot. Okay. Well, we've kind of done all the damage that we can for this game, so we don't have to run it all the way up to kickoff. I do want to go over best bets one more time. Jeweler, if you could put those up, and guys, again, just don't have to give it the full breakdown here. Just a couple thoughts. Maestro, start with you. M squared, you could follow up. You guys are both on the same one. Gronk over 59.5 receiving yards.
I'm on the Bucs on the site. I wish I had waited and got 7, but I still think there is a good matchup for them. Just the way the Eagles play defense, and that is to allow the dink and dunk. And Tom Brady is the master of the dink and dunk and matriculating his way down the field. Like we talked about, without Josh Sweat, where's the edge rush going to come from? They got the 2 great guys right up the gut, right up the middle, and Hargrave and Cox. But where is that edge pass rush going to be? The Bucs can devote extra guys to stopping those 2, mammoth pass rushers in the middle. And then I'm going to go Gronk 10 targets. Is it 10 targets or 10 catches? 10 targets each of the past 2 weeks, over 100 yards. The Eagles funnel to the tight end. 59.5 just seems low. It's going up, but like we said, low 60s as well.
M squared.
Yeah, just on Gronk here, very friendly number. Still would take it at 61.5 where it's sitting now on FanDuel. Look, a lot of targets, a lot of familiarity for Tom Brady with him, and we've all talked about and all know how the Eagles can struggle to defend the middle of the field. So I like Gronk's big body in there. I think he's going to have enough to get there pretty comfortably.
Rob, yeah, go ahead. Maestro.
Proppy, you go first, and then I got something.
Okay, yeah, I've got Mike Evans over 55.5 receiving yards. I was just very encouraged watching him last week versus Carolina. I was thinking that the hamstring would affect him. Appeared no signs of it being an issue whatsoever. Practiced in full this week, coming in without an injury designation. I really like his chances. I do think he's going to get double-digit targets. Then I've got Miles Sanders over 42.5 rushing yards. I do anticipate him getting double-digit carries. Eagles have a dominant rushing or offensive line. I do really like the matchup as well. I don't think Tampa Bay is nearly as good as their reputation is as far as the rush defense is concerned. I do think he's got a great chance to pop a 30 or 40-yard run in this game. So, yeah, like Miles Sanders over 42.5 rushing yards, Mike Evans over 55.5 receiving yards.
Maestro.
Yeah, thanks to Timothy Stevens in the chat pointing out you can still get Cameron Braid at 25-1 on MGM, and shame on me for not. I saw 18-1. I even saw less than 18-1 on multiple books, and I didn't shop around for the best number, but it depends on the pool and what kind of money each book is attracting. So if you have access, 25-1 is a great price.
All right. I'm on the Bucs first half -4.5. Again, goes to what we saw in week 6 in regards to the Bucs getting a quick start against this Eagles team. And I know that, week 6 feels like forever ago. And I'm not basing it off of just that. You look at the Eagles, they've just historically here been a slow starting team, a good second half team in terms of points. But I think that the Bucs are going to have kind of a similar strategy to what the Bills did last night, knowing that points are their best friend, taking the Eagles out of the run game as much as possible, forcing them to pass. So I'm going to go with the Bucs -4.5 in the first half. All right. We end every show. Guys, you got 30 seconds. What are you looking forward to in this one? Maestro, I'll start with you.
I'm looking for, Tom Brady to be Tom Brady and for Jalen Hurts to show a little bit of that inexperience. Love what the Eagles have done the second half of the season, but it's not like they've beaten a ton of great teams. I just think at home, the Bucs have been a different team all season, as we know. And I'm looking for, a 7-10, hopefully a 10-point Bucs win.
Props?
I just hope my Eagles can show up in this game, be competitive, push the Bucs a little bit. I hope we don't see another lopsided game like we did in Buffalo last night.
In squared.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the Eagles staying within 14.5 so we can catch the donkey. Looking forward to Gronk streaking over the middle of the field. Just looking for a good game, though. I really do want to see how the Eagles respond in this spot. I think it's a huge growth opportunity for just Hurts in general. So I think it's going to be an interesting game. I hope it's really competitive just for my selfish entertainment purposes. But, I think that it'll be fun to see. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, mine is kind of the similar, right? Like I want to see a game where, a road team and underdog puts the pressure, right, on the home team, on the favorite. And I think M Squared is spot on. Like if there's a spot this weekend, I think it could be this one right here. Maestro, yeah, what do you got, buddy?
Well, all the talk going into Wildcard Weekend, if you just want to look at trends, was the underdogs, 15-3 run the last few years. Well, last night, 2-0 for the favorites. So we'll see what happens today.
Yeah, definitely. And Jeweler, great job putting the donkey up. Mike, if you could, 10 seconds or less, throw it to us. What do we got here on the donkey?
Yep, we're going to have Bucs alternate spread. That's basically a money line. Eagles plus 14.5, under 57.5 for the entire game. Rob Gronkowski alternate line over 44.5. Mike Evans over 39.5 on his alternate line.
Nice. I love it. All right, everybody, you know what? Sometimes you got to do things for a little bit of karma, right? So we're doing this for Noah. We're doing this for the entire chat. We got to hit these bets. And the only way to do it is imitating exactly how Coach would end a show. And you know what? You have your marching orders. Let's take all these tickets straight to the pay window for Maestro, for M Squared, for props, and the jeweler who puts it all together. I am the assistant coach.